What can you tell me about Firecracker Dan? Huh? Hey, look here right quick.
I didn't know you were looking.
Yeah.
You're filming.
What can you tell me about him? I know you know him quite
what can
well.
I tell you about Firecracker Dan? It's pretty red.
He's what?
He's really red, and he goes a lot of places. Goes all over the place.
I know that he actually went to Ireland with you, didn't he?
He did go to Ireland. He also went to Arizona. He got through TSA, which is weird for a firecracker. Didn't think he'd make it.
And that is weird that he made it through there, isn't it? They patted him down, didn't they?
They did. They got him there, and that's what mattered.
And what about this poet? Is it Yeats?
Yates?
Yeah, Yeats. What about him at the castle of the poet, the great poet out there?
That's where he lived, and it was like this gigantic castle. Well, castle tower. It's a big tower. And you'd look up, and he had this giant creek where he'd look out and write poetry. And that's where I took Firecracker Dan's book.
Did Firecracker Dan in the book feel like they fit in that?
They did.
In Ireland?
Did. Yeah. We put them in a little snug hole-like thing with the flowers, and it fit in right there. Well, actually, one of those, that might be at Dublin Castle.
We're right there?
Yeah, I took other pictures, but I think that one might be Dublin Castle. That one might be outside Yates Tower. Or next to, not the Cliffs of Moher, but another cliff. But he went to Yates Castle and went there.
That's probably a pretty important place to go, wasn't it?
Yates was really cool because he's a really big poet. So when we were there, they were like, "What are you doing?" Because they didn't know I had it. And I pulled out a book, and I was like, "It's poetry. You gotta take it to the poet's place."
Is that right?
Yeah.
So the poetry got to go to the place of the poet. That's beautiful, isn't it?
It was pretty cool.
And how long did you stay there? Quite a while?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah, and I got to see all kinds of poets and stuff. That's why I took your book with me.
Did they get to see the book at all, any of them? I'd say they did, didn't they?
My friends did.
They did?
Yeah.
What'd they say?
They were like, "Why do you have a book with you?" I kept bringing a bunch of books because they were from Ireland, like the people who wrote them, and I was like, hear me out. What if we looked at books from Appalachia? And they were like, that's crazy. It's crazy. But it was digital storytelling, so they were like, okay, so you could write your thing on that. I didn't get to include it in that, but now that I'm taking an Appalachian class, I'm trying to tie Ireland to Appalachia.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
So I'm literally going to be using your book to hopefully do that.
So you're going to try it again?
I'm going to try it again.
And where are you going to with it this
I
time?
don't know. If I can get funding,
do you think you might need to take all 4 of the books?
Take all of them.
Take all of them with you, and we'll be fine with that?
Yeah.
And you'll have to let Firecracker Dan know all about it, because he'll want to travel with you as well, won't he?
Well, he was there.
He's already there, wasn't he?
He's already there in Ireland. He left his mark up there.
He did?
Right outside Yates Castle.
So people knows where his mark is now. Firecracker Dan in the great country of Ireland.
He was also, I had him in my backpack the entire time. So he went to all kinds of places.
Is that right? Yeah. He went all over the place,
He went to this giant library.
Well.
I'll show you pictures later, but it was huge. So he went to a giant library, too. I just didn't get a picture there because that was the most crowded place in Ireland.
But as long as he was there, that's all necessary, isn't it?
And he did touch the same land as Yates.
Is that the same land? That's pretty good, huh?
That's where he was from, where he lived, wrote all of his poetry,
So Yates would enjoy the book, "If I Had Longer Legs, I'd Be a Giant." He would enjoy that, I bet.
I think he would have.
And from the great mountains of eastern Kentucky, right?
Yeah.
The land of Firecracker Dan.
Yeah. It was hard, though, because I had to write poetry while I was there.
But you done okay, though, didn't you?
I had to use your book as an example.
Did that book kind of help you write some poems?
Because I don't know how to write poetry very well. I was learning.
So
and my teacher's like, you got to do it now. So there's a poem in Yates Castle that I wrote.
Is that right?
That was inspired by yours.
Inspired by mine.
Yeah, so you technically have.
Can you tell me the title of that poem?
I could not tell you what I wrote on that.
But it's inside the castle, so that's pretty neat.
The castle.
Yeah.
I don't remember what I wrote it about.
And it'd be in the castle, I guess, forever then.
Yeah, they have a logbook where you can write your own poetry, and they're like, you got to do it. But I had to write it in 5 minutes, so I have it somewhere on my phone. I don't know how good it is. Don't know what it was about. I think I might have wrote it about the river outside the thing, but
Can you understand them poems that's in the book that I had written that you had taken with you? Can you understand them clearly? You have to read them more than once sometimes.
Sometimes you do, because you gotta read into all poetry.
To see what
you
it's
can't
there.
take it at face value. You gotta go in.
You don't know really what it's trying to say sometimes,
you
right?
gotta read into it. That's a good poetry, though. You gotta do it.
You got to do it, don't
Yeah,
you?
that's
Sometimes
what...
I'll write it to where you don't even know what I'm talking about, but that's the way it's supposed to be written sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'm in an English class right now, and we have to analyze poems, and you got to dig deep. So you got to dig deep sometimes.
And sometimes you do analyze it, but you just come out with what you think each line or each stanza is saying, and sometimes you're right. Sometimes it may say something else, doesn't it?
It means something different to everybody. That's why poetry's fun. But
so,
it's nice knowing you, because then I actually know what it is.
You know me, don't you?
You're like, that's exactly it. I can tell you exactly what's happening there.
Yeah, that's great that you know me, where I can tell you what's going on, right?
Yeah, and that's why everyone should check out your YouTube channel.
Yeah, they need to take a look at it, and it's called Firecracker Dan Land, isn't it?
Yeah.
I heard you've been following Firecracker Dan around quite a bit. Is that true?
I have.
And what have you learned from him on the Facebook or wherever you've been following him at?
I learned a lot of things from Firecracker Dan. I see him everywhere. First of all, I see all his friends. He's got like 1,000 of them.
Is that right?
Yeah, you say that he could dance 1,000 dances of a marching band?
Yeah.
Well, he's getting a marching band.
He's got the band, don't he?
He's got the band. He's got his band of friends. They're all over the place. And I don't know.
Don't you think it come around rather quickly, though?
It did. It went from 0 to 10 just like that. It was like...
It just shot like a rocket going to the moon, didn't it?
It was like a firecracker.
Like a what now?
It was like a firecracker going off.
And it did, didn't it?
It did. Had a big boom, too.
So you said you really get excited to see if Firecracker Dan's going to put up something each evening or each night, right?
I do, yeah. Because I saw you posted today. Was it, no man, woman, or child is too tall to help a young kid.
There's no woman or man that is too tall that can't stoop to help a young child.
Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
So what did you think about that?
I thought it was really sweet.
And it's actually true, isn't it?
Yeah.
And nobody ever gets above anybody else. They need to stoop down and help those that need to be helped.
Yeah,
don't you think
kids.
that same thing a lot of times?
Yeah.
Even when you was at Ireland, you've seen people that you need to stoop down and kind of help them along a little bit?
Yeah. There's a lot of sad things in Ireland. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, just as sad as they are in the mountains of Kentucky a lot of times.
No, that's literally it. We talked about that in class. We talked about how Ireland was very similar to Appalachia because I don't want to say we get pooped on.
Well, we know that Ireland had the Great Potato Famine in the 1850s, didn't they?
Yeah, they have struggles like Appalachia.
And I tried to wonder, I actually looked at the fields that weren't there. I tried to wonder, well, were those Irish potatoes, were they the white potatoes? Or were they the Pontiac red that might rot a little quicker than the others?
I don't know. I know that they call it the Great Hunger over there.
Yeah, and the same time they had the potato famine. There was no food, but at the same time, the king was kicking them out of their homes.
Yeah.
And too, that made the famine worse, wasn't it? That fueled the flame, didn't it?
They took the land, and the king was taking all the food.
Yep, and that's the reason the potatoes are rotten, and maybe they were rotten, and maybe they weren't. Maybe there just wasn't anything there for them to eat since they kicked off their properties, just like the people in America was kicked out during the Great Depression.
That, and fun fact, did you know that there is a Native American tribe from America, obviously Native American, that during the potato famine, they collected a bunch of money because they felt bad for them because, they were kicked off their land and went through all these struggles, so they sent them a bunch of money. It wasn't a bunch, it was like $100-something, but back then it was real big. So when you go to Ireland, you could see like statues of this one tribe. That's like really cool. And I think they give free tuition to the members of that. So like if someone from over here was from that, their group, they could go over there.
I think that's great, don't you?
It was really sweet. Like they were really sweet.
And it gives them a chance to go, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gives them a chance to go, and I don't know, it's just really sweet on both ends there. But it was a really nice gesture, because they didn't have much either, which is
Just like us,
So
maybe,
sad. That's
right?
literally Appalachia. It's sad,
You know,
but it's better. It's
when
getting
Dan
better, and
written
it's
that
great.
today about the man and the woman tall, and written about stoop to help the child,
Yeah,
but really what he's actually saying, you need to help everybody
yeah,
that's kind of low. And you know, it don't have to actually be a child, but you can still stoop down for everyone
yeah.
that needs your needs,
Well,
your
everybody's a
services.
child at heart,
Yeah.
or somebody's kid. So
And the child was just a figure of speech, wasn't it?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You gotta dig deeper.
You got to dig
You never would
deeper.
have got that if you just looked at it. You gotta dig deeper.
But I noticed some people, you know, Firecracker Dan told me to put that up there this
I
morning.
saw
It
that.
was bright and early. It wasn't my doings, it was his. So I put it up there for him, and it seemed like it touched base with a lot of folks.
Yeah.
I've seen those people, those men and women that thought they was taller than everybody else, that wouldn't stoop down to help a child, or wouldn't help no one
See,
indeed.
that's not a good way to be.
But you've probably seen that before too, haven't you?
Yeah, terrible people. But
I call
yeah, more
them
good ones.
I call them the deep pocket people. Which the deep pocket's not going to reach in their pocket to help anybody. That's the reason they got the deep pockets in the first place.
Yeah.
So if you decide to live in Ireland or just come back and live in these mountains?
I don't know. I'd love to live in Ireland, but I've got family, so.
Hey, you got family and
I
they
have to
won't
stay here.
go with you?
They would, but I don't know how they'd like it. It's basically the same thing. I'm not gonna lie to you, John. It's the same place.
Oh, it's pretty
It's
close,
very
same as here,
green.
huh?
They love horses so much. I went
And
over
so do
there.
we, right?
Yeah, I went over there, and every time they asked me where I was from, I say Kentucky. They'd scream Kentucky Derby. They get really excited.
So they get excited.
They love horses.
And you didn't have a chance to tell them LRC, did you?
No.
But that's still okay because we like horses too, right?
Yeah. But everybody loves horses. But they really, I got to go pet a racehorse, a retired racehorse. But it was cool.
Well, I know you haven't been back to LRC for a while.
Yeah.
What's it been? About a year, probably, hasn't it?
Well, working about a year, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, about a year.
But what did you think when you come back in here? I know you probably know the original Dan, the big Dan.
Yeah.
You probably knew him. What did you think when you dropped by this afternoon, after you got back from Ireland and everything, and you saw the other Dans?
I thought those were really cute. I still think they're really cute.
And which Dans did you see? Just try to tell me which ones that you seen.
The ones I saw. So when I got back, you had the Halloween one back then. You also had 4th of July firecracker Dan. Now you've got a bunch of Christmas ones, which are my favorite. I'm not gonna lie, I love the snowman. Snowman's my favorite. Mistletoe the cat, which is the tree firecracker Dan, right?
Yeah, Christmas tree, huh?
I love that one. That is my favorite. The cat one is my favorite.
You like the Halloween cat. And what about that new Santa Claus that sits over there?
Santa Claus is nice. He's got the pom-pom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
We had to do that instead of put a little Christmas cap on him. We
Yeah.
thought he looked better with that little
I think he
pom-pom.
looks better.
And
those his mini elves?
yeah, there's an elf coming out, aren't they?
So those are just mini Santas.
Yeah, them's just little
So we're
Santas
gonna
over
get
there.
elves.
We're going to get elves. Going to get an elf cat and a dog and little elf cylinder and a magnet. And we're also going to get, you remember Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? We're going to get the Red-Nosed Rudolph Firecracker Dan.
Yeah.
The red reindeer Firecracker Dan, the red nose. And we're going to try to put antlers and everything on him just like a reindeer. That's hopefully what he'll look like.
Mm-hmm. It's going to be like a 10.
Yeah, like a little tree on each side up there. And he'll be a buck, won't he?
Yeah.
And then we probably have to make the other reindeer, we have to get the lady reindeer later, won't we?
Yeah.
Because that we got a male of, we get female too, so we have equal rights for everybody.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's great, isn't it? We don't leave nobody out.
And Firecracker Nan.
Yeah, Firecracker Nan. Then we got the Firecracker Girl up there.
Yeah.
And the Fuses Firecracker for Halloween. And
yeah, the cat one. I like the Firecracker. That's the cat for Halloween.
They're pretty nice, aren't they?
Nice, yeah.
Then we had the Halloween tree too. But you noticed that Firecracker Dan, he's got a lot of next of kin.
He does. He's got a lot of people.
And we're
literal marching band right now.
Yeah, and we're trying to reach the world with a set that we call now Happy Birthday, the person's name, Firecracker Dan. It's got the candles lit up to how old you are.
Oh, that'd be cute.
It's got the base, has a number how old you are. And if you kind of count the candles how old you are to take you back to the year you was born.
Yeah.
And then it's got your favorite color. Like if your color may be a forest green, it would be a forest green with the lighted candles on it, the number of years that you
so
are.
So you're really personalizing it. Like
yeah.
Basketball Sam?
Yep, we got a new one now
coming
out with
but
Basketball
he's in a
Sam.
Bunch of school colors.
This is Basketball Sam. And then over here, somewhere we got Basketball Nan. Or, no, Basketball Sammy Joe. See her right there?
Sammy Joe's cute.
And we're going to bring them out too, but we got a basketball player for every team. And they choose a couple colors or team, or maybe 3. We color that basketball the same as that, but the basketball have a lot longer legs than Firecracker Dan.
I see that.
You know, you can't play basketball a lot of times with short legs, unless you had my name maybe, because I used to be able to do that. And these people out there can still tell you that John could play basketball back in the day, but
I could not play
basketball. I could dunk them basketballs from half court. I had no trouble with it. But you can see the different ones we have, and that's pretty neat, isn't it? So now you learn a new one, Basketball Sam and Basketball Sammy Joe.
I like Sammy Joe.
And if you notice, I've already drew a lot of them out, and I can draw one of them for every team of any kind of sport throughout the whole world.
So that's what I like. Firecracker Dan does everything.
Firecracker Dan can do it, and so can the Firecracker basketball. So, thank you for interviewing with me today, and I know you learned a lot more about Firecracker Dan than what you knew before you left a year ago, right?
Definitely.
Well, say bye, Firecracker Dan.
Goodbye, Firecracker Dan.
Okay, thank you.